It'll be a 3-year contract.
Yeah.
Well, meeting is the next. Okay. And that's a morning meeting as well, right? I believe April 12th. Okay. Right. Up in Palm Harbor. Palm Harbor.
Juliana, are you making that? Are you?
No, actually, it's me. Can you mute that?
Thank you. Sorry, guys. Just want to get the video and the sound right. Thank you.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Okay, so just wanted to double check that because I remembered that I had a question on that and I don't think we even talked about that at our last meeting. So cool, that's done. Where do you want to take it from here?
We just go down the articles.
All right, so the average, what's going on with it?
He's trying to fix it. We can keep moving though.
But what is the sound?
It's just that it's picking up both cameras. And so he's fixing the volume. So it shouldn't be an issue going forward.
Okay. All right, so obviously the remainder of the salary, the average of the 3.25 following the salary laws was something that we've had since the beginning, this green sheet. And then the layout of the grandfathered schedule. Of course, the arrows are not there. We're going to have to instruct people on how to read that. And then the calculation for the annual contracts, because that's not a schedule. And I believe the remainder is in Article 50. Yes, the remainder of the salary agreement, which is for, I think this goes because this will be temp until 2024. And then, so it'll be pulled out from the end. It changed from the training hours, the 12 hours of training were pulled, and the trade days are back in. Even though we were working to try to work that out, it seemed that that was what was getting a lot of pushback, was losing the trade days. And people did not seem all that deliriously thrilled with the training. And there were a lot of issues about what training and which trainings would be. It just got out of control and a little confusing. So we just took the trade days are back, training is dropped. So the only piece of that is the planning, the 15 hours. And then we have the additional 15 hours for ESE. And this is where there were some issues about the codes, that the codes weren't complete for the people who actually write the IEPs, that there were some people left off. Is that correct?
So I need to know what those titles of job titles are, because these are the ones that we have. I know we had previously talked about people who may not be in these job titles, but they might be quote unquote case managers. And I think we had this conversation 6 months ago about how to identify them. So again, if you can get the titles for referencing, these are the one-offs that are doing this. Is language that sure that the people that would be getting the additional planning time are the ones that are providing the service. So either doing the SDI or doing the IEPs. And I think you sent it over, Nancy, to them?
We may not have been able to,
Okay.
because we were going to send it, and then there were the issues
The
with
goal was to make sure that
email.
people that are doing the
Was it
service
sent on
and
the
the
thing?
students that are receiving them
Janet's
are
email?
able to get the additional planning time. So we haven't been remote. I went back and I looked at what titles people are working in different places. And although you had an extensive list, and it said majority of them, you didn't get ones that were the unusual ones that were still doing the services. So the language, I think you have those there, Nancy, that's crafted,
No, I don't. I have it on here.
but it basically says that. you know,
I'll get it.
Certified, because that's what you want to make sure people are certified, and working in providing services. That way you don't have to be certified PSE, who's not doing services.
These are the, and we definitely heard that, but we have to be able to implement it in a manner that we're able to identify job titles or these hours are allowable for those. And this is the list that we received from ESC and along with the compensation piece. So this is the list that we have, and this is the list that we propose.
Okay, but it's not included.
I,
So that down here,
again,
I say for art teacher PSE. But that art teacher PSE is not providing the services, would then be coded according to what you're
I
saying.
can't search on this phone for
What
her
I'm saying
email.
is art teacher PSE. To get the extra plan time, not just one who's coded that way, who's not providing. That's where we get into the difficult stuff. So
We need to go with specific job codes. So these are the job codes that are provided. So I'm not sure what you're saying, but how would we discharge it?
Come down and fix
This is
that
a
up.
question that was asked several weeks ago. We don't have any other job codes. These are the job codes provided by PSE and provided.
I can give you 3 different job codes right now. But it's
Are
like,
they ESE job codes?
yes. But they're older job codes, like SED. We have teachers that are still under the code SED, severely emotionally disturbed. That's not a code we use anymore. But they're still being paid for job codes. for SED. So that, I mean, if that needs to be changed, their titles need to be adjusted, that would be fine. What I'm proposing is not to have people receive extra planning time that they're not entitled to. The goal is to have services for the students that are being provided, to have a documentation with it, whether it be the writing of the IEPs or whether it be the provision of the SDI law.
That can be-
However it is that you need to have that plan
Oh,
to show the services are going in there. Now, we may have a music teacher, PSE, who will not only please manage, but write IEPs. But not every music teacher who happens to be dual certified would be doing that job. So if I put those codes in there, you will be paying people who are not doing this job. So that's what I said, you are very inclusive there. But there are many people still in the district that are providing services that are not included on that list. That you want to do it. If you put those codes on there, you will be paying people who are not doing the services, and that's not what you want with using the funds from the code that we're, you want it to be going for the provision of the services for the student. And that's how I read the statement in there, just to make sure. And they would have to prove that they were doing that through the provisions of their planning laws.
Well, that was what I was going to say, that if you just give them the codes, and like you said, not everyone under those codes are actually providing the service, but they have to provide a log.
They do, they have to provide documentation, whether it's in an IEP they write or whether it be.
No, that's not what I'm saying. In order to get the extra planning time, they have to say what they've been doing. If they're not writing IEPs, they cannot log that they were writing IEPs, because if they're doing a different job, so they wouldn't
The
be
language-
eligible because they wouldn't be able to log it.
They were
The language that, but the planning, the nature of the planning is limited. The language reads, to be eligible for the payment, the instructional staff member must verify in writing that they have spent an additional 2 days, 15 hours, planning for instruction to enhance the academic performance of their students, which includes data collection, documentation, as well as related compliance obligations. The language comes in under that compliance requirement and not necessarily IEPs.
But the beginning part of planning to improve the performance of the academic students. That could be any teacher,
Within these codes.
but there's additional codes.
Right, well,
The additional codes, I think
yes,
there's codes where we have older codes, I'm not familiar, but if there are older codes, we need to know about those and switch them to the appropriate codes that are identified. So that solves one
Yeah,
problem.
and for that to happen, we need to make sure that we know who's getting paid how. So we have all these ESPs.
Why do we need to know that?
In different positions, a gifted teacher working in private schools, provide. They may be coded in an unusual manner. We don't have many ESP teachers providing gifted services to a private school, and yet we're required to do that. We want to make sure that that teacher who's providing the services is allowed to have this transfer. So yeah, gifted is under it, but you also have an ESP teacher under it. But if you have a blended code, art ESP, you have a blended code, then that's the concern. So I think we could work this out by looking out and seeing how the payroll works for the ESP teacher. That's what we need to do, or have a language in there that basically says.
Yeah, to her compensation team worked with ESE to come up with these codes. So we can further refine it to make sure there's people, and you have to certify that they're providing the service.
Correct, and I
So
know
that solves one issue. The other issue is the old codes. I'm just not familiar with. If there are old codes, then that's an issue that needs to be resolved and making sure they're correct properly.
And I don't want teachers to lose out because they're coded for a code or something.
I get it. They should be coded under one of these.
well, I think that's really the core point that Janet's getting to, is it's about making sure that the people that we're not missing anybody, but with incorrect codes, because we want people to be compensated for the work that they're doing, falling within this definition. I mean, there are limits to the definition. It's not totally inclusive, and understanding that, but making sure that the codes are correct. It's about including the people that are doing the work and maybe improperly coded versus, right, yeah, exactly.
Get the work done. These are people who are working and we're receiving compensation for the work that they're doing. So it's to make sure the work gets done is beneficial for both the district and for the provider.
Anybody who's doing that work should be included in these codes. And
No,
so,
no, come in through there.
no,
Whatsoever. Next, that one, this one's working just fine.
that's where we looked at this, I went through probably roads and we have identified. So everybody is included in these codes. To the extent that you are seeing something different and an old code or whatever. But listen, if it's an old code, they have to have a new code too. And it has to be correct, it has to be corrected. I think we even looked at the old, you have the under an old code, they're all updated. So again, to the extent that somebody is questioning or thinking, hey, there's this other code, you need to let me know, because this is what we've been provided, and we pulled every instructional staff members. I had all the elementary, I had all the teacher high school, I had all the teacher. You leave those out, right? Because, and we looked at every single ESC type of code.
And that's where ESC has morphed over the years from EH, from
And
NC.
so
And
I am
the
going to.
district hasn't morphed as quickly, and we do have teachers under code. So I want to make sure that the teachers that may be coded in an old code that are providing services, what protections can you tell me that the teachers that are miscoded or an unusual code or a one-off will be provided this as well?
I can't, but I can tell you that they are part of the instruction. I think let's remember when we started this conversation, and I know it did work as well. We've been doing this for a very long time. We had general planning for all instruction, right? And then we realized, and we had this long, lengthy, multiple meeting discussion about case managers, right? And the additional, that was the original concern, right?
Mhm.
And so we talked about that. We had those discussions. Is case manager of one the same as somebody who's we hear about those that are overloaded with 30 or 40 case managers, right? And we had a discussion, okay, we base it on the number of case managers. And then it's, well, wait a minute, I could have 10 severe
case manager, you know. Then we're starting to, to go. So that's where we evolved, right? And then we had, well, then, okay, so let's make it ESE. And it's very clearly stated, as an ESE teacher, that's B, or C, sorry. C. For ESE teachers. So again, these are the codes for all of our ESE, including gifted, including ASE, including all pre-K. ESE teachers. I could sit here and, I mean, and we have, and to be honest with you, we have had multiple people asking for additional dollars. We have other instructional staff members. Their jobs have different duties that take their, but this was a conversation, we're fully agreeing. It's 15 hours, and I'm so glad that it's in here. But I think we need to remember it's ESE teachers that we made that
Yeah.
distinction.
There has been a desire that we wanted, one of the early conversations we had about this was, and I agree with what you're saying, is to get away from quantifying does this only apply to people that have caseloads of 5 IEPs versus 10 versus 20? And that it's not getting into that division between the group was what we were trying to get away from. So I absolutely agree with that. Making sure though, that if someone has been miscoded in that they are doing the work that is it and acknowledging, understanding that you're going to have people who are working, that are doing work in exceptional education that were not included on this list, recognizing that. Because we've had questions like that coming from members, and I understand that this isn't, the umbrella isn't wide enough to include everybody. We get that. But that I think what Janet is saying, if I'm misstating it, please tell me, is that there are people that are doing these jobs. For our understanding, there are people that are doing these jobs that truly are doing this work, but their job code in the system is some old, outdated, right? And that's a bigger issue, not just including here, but making sure that that's corrected in the system. Is that correct?
That is correct. I don't want to leave people out because I don't have access to every code.
And I think that,
Code them as ESE teachers, doing the work. I'm not saying every certified ESE teacher, I'm saying that ESE teachers are doing the work. And I know right now there is a huge change over in middle schools on how it works, but it still includes the ESE teachers providing the SEI, which is the actual work with the students and documenting the work, especially design instruction, and or the teachers that are providing the required IEP. I'm not trying to go out beyond. I'm trying to make sure that they're included. That's where I want to make sure it's included. Do I know every job code in the district? No. As I started to research the job codes, I found that there were job codes that were not included on there. So that's where I come down to. I don't have access to job codes. I can tell you it's 3 right now that aren't in there.
So when we originally proposed this, the follow-up sort of knowledge of how we got to this, we need a way to identify new codes. And so we came up with this list. You raised your concern that it's not an all-inclusive list. We thought it was an all-inclusive list. So we said if it's not an all-inclusive list, provide us codes that aren't included. We then went back to our ESE department, and Paula went to her compensation department and went through all the job codes. And we understand this to be an all-inclusive list. So now we're sitting here tonight, ready to finally settle. And we're back to the same question we were weeks ago, that there's codes out there. If there are codes out there that are old and are not included in this list, we needed to know that. We don't know that. We still continue to believe, because we researched it since our last discussion, that this is an all-inclusive list. We understand what you're saying. If there's an old code, then that job code needs to fall within this list.
Heather doesn't access to all the job codes.
Well, if you say you know of people.
I can tell you 3 right now.
Give me names so I can.
well, let's not do that live streaming, please.
I know the codes. She went through the codes.
I don't know codes. I'm an ESE teacher. I can tell you jobs and job title of these, and they are not listed on the list.
Is it like teacher art? Is that what you mentioned?
Teacher art, ESE, it is art teacher who is literally a case manager and an art teacher. They are doing the work.
They are writing the IEPs. They are certified and providing services of FBI in addition to their art. It is not on there. SED teacher, it is not on there. Teacher, music, yes, providing services is not on there. Never said. I can put three right at this point in time. So it's not an inclusive list. I'm not trying to be frustrating. What I'm trying to say is I want to make sure the services are provided to our students in the year. These are people that are
So
providing.
do you want to caucus and we can talk to her and then we can talk to Juliana also?
That's what you want to have happen because it's helpful, not only the district and the students, but also the teachers. It's a win. I'm trying to make sure we have everyone included, which is why I provided the extra language. I don't know the code. If you want to give me however many.
Yeah, but I can't, that's the unmet, and I appreciate that, but I will tell you the implementation that we have to have titles because those will identify the employees who are eligible for those 15 hours. It is not something that can be done every single week and every day. Hey, we need to look at this, we need to look at that. That is why we keep it very consistent, because I will tell you, we have gen ed teachers out there who have gen ed and ESE, and they are inclusion teachers, and they are providing those ESE services. Yet they're not included in this, because they're a teacher third grade, teacher fifth grade, whatever it might be, teacher high school, and so
But
forth.
they're not providing either the IEP.
Can we- I'm sorry, can we caucus so that we can make sure that I feel like there's maybe some, I'm not sure that we're talking about the same thing. So if we could caucus, if that's okay. And then, that also gives me the opportunity to ask a question of a couple of members on the team that we need moving forward on the
Yeah.
Oh, they can hear y'all sneeze.
Those switch speakers.
Okay. Well, we should be okay. If I've done what I think I'm supposed to do, we should be okay. If you want to go ahead and let me plug that one up. Let's see if we get 3 minutes.
Yeah, for Nancy to come back.
Okay, all right, Lindsay.
That is muted, so we should be fine. Okay. Oh, we're not plugged up. Let me- Okay. All right, we should be okay. Testing one. Testing one. Testing one. Yeah, we're good.
Yes. She has a mullet. She has a ear back here and one up here.
Okay, testing two. Okay, we're good. Audio should be fine. And nothing there was no feedback anybody heard, so.
Is audio back on?
Audio is back on, video is back on.
Okay.
Hey, all you guys now. Come on, I used to do that for a living. Played some of the most ungodly music ever. All right, come on the big day.
I keep getting one back.
It was. So that way you ended up with like 18 people.
My coworkers getting
It's always
ready.
different colors.
Yeah. Figure out. So would this be read for the?
It should go back and clean it up.
I mean, not that it's a big deal, but for her it is, because it means that she has to come back.
On that, and when you do it off, they always use seniority as, if there's no volunteer, the seniority piece comes in. And I've been in a room with 4 people who are. Because they were all brought in on the same day.
It's a frisbee.
Okay. The language side, if you, I mean, from my point of view, like right here. We actually have an OPS process that started. That's prepared. I walked into my first OPS meeting and went through it. Wow. You're kidding me. This is not normal. This is the due process. You have to have, I have to have the opportunity to cross your people. I have to have the opportunity to produce witnesses. I have to have the opportunity to represent my person. Oh, I'm sorry, but she's gonna give it. Oh, thanks for the due process. What?
CPR match. Changes. From auditorium to restaurant.
And then another set of my
Oh, it's
children,
right
who
there.
actually has a wife, they actually have.
They're
another
like
couple
three
where they
different settings you choose. So if I'm at a restaurant, I don't want any of the background.
Yeah, there's no reason.
Restaurant.
I mean, the housing is higher.
I'm talking about some of our new teachers.
And some of the old
Can't
teachers.
afford to live here.
Ladies and gentlemen, we
Oh.
just know that the speakers are live, they can be heard, they're very, very sensitive.
Okay.
All confidential.
Well, we're just talking about new teachers not being able to afford to live here.
Oh, that sucks.
And old teachers.
Yeah. High school rent went up $300, $350, so plus a living expense for that for 1.8 months. And then after that, it says, well,
Well, it's like, I mean,
But then, of course, it becomes necessary.
15 to $20,000 a year more. The rent's a little bit higher, but it's not gonna take up all. So. Yeah,
you said it.
I am.
When's that this summer?
I'm in the summer. And I'm not a new teacher. I've been teaching 18 years.
Oh, you're in your seat. I'm sitting over here. Not a problem.
Teacher house. Be like the modern day equivalent to like.
I worked at a radio station in Virginia and played bluegrass music 3 nights a week.
Oh, my God.
You ever seen absolutely the most uncomfortable person in the world is somebody who tries to play bluegrass for a bunch of real bluegrass fans and doesn't know squat about bluegrass music. Like, that's a mandolin, isn't it?
I'm sorry, can we go ahead and turn the mics off because they're not in here with us and.
If you would like to mute them, go right ahead.
Or. See y'all in a minute. Careful.
In the hallway.
Brian, you got the sound?
Got it.
Okay. Okay. Do you,
All right, so meanwhile, while we were out there talking and while we were having these discussions, the rest of the group, I hope you've been looking through the language, you've been looking through the summary and checking out the language so that you can see everything that was agreed upon the Friday before spring break when we met with Paula and Lori. And I just want to make sure that everybody's had a chance to look that over and see that it was quite a movement ahead from what we had before.
do we want to push, because we opened the discussion, do we want to go to Article 50? and talk
Yes.
about it? So because the timing of it was a little bit different, but we did start to get into Article 50, which is a little bit out of order, but I think it's something that everybody wants to know about. Article 50 is a new article, including language that has an effect on this, that is driven by the salary or has an effect on the salary agreement, but it's language. And so we've covered this in previous bargaining sessions. I think Nancy, I think you walked through what was here and what wasn't here any longer when it was previously open. But we got to a point where we needed some clarification on 50C with the additional planning time afforded to instructional staff categorized as ESE teachers. And then there's a list of job codes. And one of the concerns that was raised was that we have found limited, very limited, but some, and it raises the question about how many others are there, about codes that were people that were coded incorrectly, but doing this work that were perhaps on an old code. And so I know that you looked up a couple of the examples that were given, and there was one that was found to be an incorrect code at the state level. And that's one of the reasons why we need to look and make sure that that's not happening with more people. But I know that y'all wanted to bring some additional language that could help clarify this. So just sort of setting us where we are, if y'all want to.
So, so I did, I won't go into specifics just because we're live streaming and I think people's positions need to be.
Yeah, with no
discussed here,
names.
But, there is one and it actually is a VE teacher listed under state code. So they're fine. But we recognize that many of these concerns might be coming out of our 4 centers who every single child at those schools have an IEP. They are ESE. And so every instructional staff member there works with those students all day, every day. We recognize that. So we would like to, in order to address that, to include language that says any instructional staff member at the 4 centers, and I will list those out just for time. I just had at the 4 centers, not included in the list above. Acting as case manager responsible for writing of IEPs will be included in that section. So that's what we like to that would, I think, would encompass those who do, again, have
You
that.
might be under a different code.
So it includes all instructional staff members at those sites who, again, not included in the list above, because we have many teachers who are included in that list, who are acting as case manager responsible for writing of IEPs will be included in the planning, in the availability for that.
And we talked about that with the group and obviously recognizing that that this is a start and we want in the future time more and more ways to value and to recognize the commitment of all of our staff that goes above and beyond, but particularly our ESE staff. This is a way to hone in where there's the most concentration of those roles and perhaps the greatest need.
Right.
So that was something that we thought was a good way to, like Nancy said, broaden that. So thank you for expanding it to include that. Let's see. You want to walk through the other pieces that were in 50?
last point of clarification, Madam President, and this is, there is an electronic copy so that it can be checked for all the grammar stuff and everything. Because you mentioned, while y'all were all talking, I was flipping through, and everybody at this table knows I've got that mind that's gonna catch if something was numbered or has two E's instead of an E and an F, and just a little clerical.
Right, what we're trying to do is TA on the substance of it, review the substance of it, but that obviously going through and try to identify any grammar issues or if there are any mistakes or anything that we could look at that. We'll be reading through it on our final version just to make sure everything lines up. But
And you'll
yeah,
have an electronic copy.
yeah. That's the way that we've been exchanging, for the most part, electronically.
So, was there, what else?
Well, we had kind of jumped to 50, but if we wanted to just quickly move, I don't know.
Well, I asked if everybody had looked it over. Were there any questions about any of the other pieces that were done? Because most of these had been in discussion prior to our meeting on March 11th. So if you, and in looking through what we've already done, what has been at the table since last July, if there's any last questions about the way, the final agreements on all of those articles. And if there's any issue or question that you want to ask us or to ask Lori or Paula or Kevin.
Article 8, I just wanted to say, very pleased that you clarified several things about leave of absence. I think that's really important, clarifying that teachers that are on leave are not going to be contacted. You know, clarifying that, and we have to get the doctor's notes every single time they have an appointment, and there's no reason for it. I mean, clarifying that we unused personal conference and sick time, those are like important things that I think just answer a lot of questions that I'm sure HR gets and that the union gets. So I think that's good.
Yeah, that was excellent.
On that leave, and it's just, my notes go back and forth, the bereavement leave, we had mentioned something about bereavement leave.
Yeah, that was not,
Okay.
Yeah, we
did
didn't
not-
land on.
that
bereavement
stays in
leave.
the sick leave bank. It's the same language as we've always had. It's in the sick,
So if somebody takes.
you have to be a member of the sick
So if
leave
somebody
bank
takes bereavement leave, they can apply for it out of sick leave?
if they have no more sick leave. They're out of sick
And they're
leave
members of the sick leave bank.
and they're members of the sick leave bank. they
Otherwise,
can
they have
use.
to take their own sick leave.
Right. We have the monthly opportunity to enroll in the sick leave bank, which is something which I can appreciate here, obviously sharing that I'm coming from a different district. There was a 1 year, once a year opportunity to enroll. And so having a monthly opportunity is that's a good
Yeah,
to have. Everybody enroll in the sick leave bank.
yeah, so that.
So-
And yeah, next open book, I'm sure we'll ask again. Bereavement leave is just one of those things that is become tradition to ask for.
And before we leave salaries, Madam President, we had a discussion a long time ago. I remember where I was sitting back there in the corner, and we had just sat on our payroll, page, on our employee payroll page, and I think, Kevin, you said we were gonna look into
So,
this.
yeah, we did look into that, and they're trying to make that.
To be able to see what the hourly is.
Exactly, yeah.
Because
There was
you-
an issue with the way it comes out of terms, the way it goes on to that.
Yeah.
So that they're seeing if they can do that.
They are working on
If they
that.
can, they will, yeah.
That's all. Okay, thank you for looking into that.
Can I ask about one?
Yeah.
27(3)E,
Page,
32,
thank you.
about the instructional coaches. Entering comments into IO observation.
Mhm.
I may have missed that discussion that happened. But from experience, the problem we have is not necessarily comments going into IO. It's verbal criticism being made directly to a person you evaluate for. I don't know if there's a way to address that or not. Actually, after visiting a classroom or teachers and going to that person's safety and making derogatory comments, things that are.
But I think
impacting.
in the language, doesn't it say that they are not evaluative?
No,
Yes, it's not about-
They are not allowed to do that. If that is happening, it must be reported. It's a violation of the contract.
That's under G, that's under G right there. Confidential, non-evaluated.
Confidential, non-evaluated. Yeah. I get what you're saying, Ginger, but I think that if the contract language as exists is walked out, then that probably can help to protect.
That's fine. Just wanted to make sure.
Yeah. Right. That's actually I think one of the nice kind of side effects of these discussions is that it allows, sometimes people don't even realize, not you, but sometimes people don't even realize the language that's there and that what the rights that they actually have and can enforce that leads to a change. If it doesn't necessarily always require a change in language, it comes from empowering people to stand up for the rights that they have.
Right, they do have to acknowledge that something is going wrong and and either let the building rep know or call the office so that it can be straightened out, because many of these things can be straightened out very quickly. But we have to know about them. And yeah, a lot of times people don't know the stuff that's already in there.
And we did add in some protections around that very same issue of privacy of discussion in Article 10. Restrict there should be no disparagement of teachers in front of students from administrators. There also requires consent to, I put video, but the language actually reads record teachers in the line of duty. There's multiple ways that can be recorded. So there are some built-in protections around that confidentiality and privacy of discussion in OPS as well, in teacher discipline, that should be made in private. So.
Okay. Now, I guess if there are no more objections or questions, I guess we're ready to TA.
Let us just go through one addition.
We weren't sure where we were going. I know we talked about this before,
And this
which I don't think you're gonna have any
This
questions.
is on I actually do have a copy.
Yeah, we have it.
Yeah, so just a slight change. We did a history, a positive change. We did a history of, it's been the goal of everybody to do supplements to teachers that work in supplemental positions. And we started, we did a summary of this, and sorry, but we didn't have time to get copies. I can read on, beginning in 1516, we started contributing sums, the excess sums, in order for those teachers to do those additional activities. We get a raise. The salary schedule that we had left only $19,000, which probably might be an extra dollar for the golf coach or whatever. So in looking at what we've done in the past, in 1516 we contributed $321,345. In 1617 we contributed $107,400 some dollars. In 1718 we contributed $166. In 1819 there was $381,000 left over.
That was a big one, yes.
But we used 150 of this or 75 actually, 75,000 of that amount was used for the increase for psychologists and speech pathologists. But that was a large sum that was left over. We just diverted the sum to increase the supplements for the psychologists and speech pathologists.
Right.
1920 was the last time we did an increase, and that was $363,789. So as you can see, there's been an effort on all of our part to make sure that we're continuing to increase our supplements. 2021 was the year that we had the teacher salary increase allocation, where we entered into an MOU, and we had a 3.5% salary increase across the board, but 0 for supplements for those activities. So when we looked at the 19,000 that was left over and the fact that we had 0 last year, we increased it to 90,000.
That was just-
actually a 3.2.
That was what I was going to ask for.
Of our total supplements for athletics, arts, carving out the advanced degree supplement, which is 2.6 million. So we took the 2.6 million, tried to match it to the 3.25 and came up with the 90,000. We already had 19 allocated, so just kicked in enough to at least make this something meaningful this year.
Right, but that.
For everybody's knowledge, we those of you who might know this, let me just repeat. So we will meet with supplements. We always wait till, we have a tentative agreement, and then we get with the supplement committee. There are things we'll be adding, bowling is gonna be added next year and things like that, but.
Sorry, did you say
Bowling.
bowling? Okay.
Bowling. But once we have the TA and the direction from our groups, then I can take it to the supplement committee. And I've forgotten who is even on that committee at this point,
I
because
believe
we
it's
haven't met.
Juliana and
Yeah.
Janet. Are you on that?
Excellent. So we'll get together and be able to do that. But we wanted to give something more than, a
Well, that's-
45%,
I'm just-
because we work so hard.
Look
to-
at how great I am. I just have to think something. And it just
And now it
happens.
just comes into
Look
our
at this.
brain,
Yeah.
so.
I have to admit,
That's
this is well, I didn't even expect this much. I actually was going to ask if we could up the supplements because of not having any for last year.
Yeah.
So
We're trying to keep pace
I
with
do
inflation.
appreciate that came without my even getting
And
to
this
that
will
point.
allow, just like you said, this will allow there to be some meaningful movement there. So that
And we
really.
want to.
That's wonderful.
Yes.
That's good. Because yes, I mean, obviously, there's going to be disappointment across the board because of the salary law and the restrictions, and there's going to be people who are upset. And this wasn't exactly the direction we were heading to in the beginning, and we had to pull back because of the laws and the restrictions. This helps somewhat, and we will tackle that again next year.
Yeah, this is a very welcome
Yes.
extension.
So we will worry about and tackle
Thank you.
that issue again for next year, since once we get through all the legislation and see where we ended up with that. But this is this is exactly what I was hoping for, was to put more into supplements, especially since the money from training and all that. So thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you very much. That's a good move.
Yes.
And I guess we are ready to go.
Speaking of, I
sorry.
don't know if you said that, just to make sure that, because, people are watching at home,
Mhm.
that, I don't know if you may have already said it, that the salary agreement is incorporated into the contract, that it's part of the contract, it's ratified and it becomes part of the contract, but one of the challenges with the open book negotiations is that it gets printed every, or redone every 3 years, and then it's almost immediately out of date because of the salary agreement not being the same from year to year. Obviously, we negotiate that every year. So one change that we made to the contract is, instead of actually printing the salary or including the salary agreement in the document, to reference a link. So and that's incorporated by reference. It's obviously, it's negotiated as part of the contract, but it allows us to make those changes and not have to have outdated information out there circulating almost immediately after it's ratified.
And also a grid that hardly anybody can read anyway, because.
Yeah, it's real
so
tiny.
small.
It's real tiny. It's real tiny. So we did that with, and that also had an impact in, Article 48 regarding the differentiated support, the tier schools. Instead of having a list of those schools that changes every year because we wait on the school grades, that we're, again, linking it so that it's incorporated by reference, but also allows us to change it without having to completely review the book every year. That was primarily what we did in Article 48.
Excuse me.
So let's make sure we have the right one of these when we send that
Yes.
out for the ratification, that it
Yes.
has the 90,000 instead of 90.
Yeah, I'll white out the smiley face I just wrote on. it.
Because that's the one that will
You need
have to be
another
sent
copy?
in.
I have other
I've got more
copies.
copies.
Time too, but-
Yeah, I think we're gonna have a signed copy, right? Are we
Right,
signing?
that's what
Yeah, we
we
have
have
to
too.
send out.
So
Okay,
we'll each have two full,
Gotcha.
each have a fully-
okay.
Okay, I've signed all of them on here.
Thank you.
You just want me to, yes, got it. Never mind. Just. I'm getting tired. I'm getting.
You want to give them one?
Mine doesn't even remind me.
Right there, right there.
Here's a clean copy for you two to start.
Oh, thanks. Thank you.
So where are we signing on this?
I'm just doing bottom right-hand corner.
Gotcha.
Every fucking page.
And so clerical things, I mean, that's for content, not clerical.
This is content. We will continue to.
Yeah, the book needs, the
refine
red
it.
line
It
needs to come
be-
out. when the book's
Never seen
printed
this
and-
on it.
Yeah.
Not
But
the way
if
it's
you
been
have
done.
any or if you want to red mark yours and give it to us,
It is,
that would be great.
I can give
Well,
it
it's
to
in the
them. I
top.
mean, I've already gone, ooh, wait, that got, it happened. I remember I was
Guess I
working
should
on it
go
last
look.
time
Maybe
with
I'm wrong, but
Colleen.
I don't
and
think
we
I'm wrong.
It's,
Well, we're not changing the language.
No. There's two E's instead of
Oh,
an E.
yeah,
and an
yeah,
F.
typos,
Yeah.
yeah.
typos, get that, yeah, please.
Oh, no. Two E's,
Are we
two
signing?
number one.
Number one.
It's just a
No, is this the copy she gave you?
Yes.
I was starting at it because but you, why don't you do it? And I'll-
Mr. Braun.
It doesn't matter, we have to sign
She
both.
signed it?
You can let me know.
Oh, so she's signing over there. And we're- I just don't want to be signing the wrong thing.
I would have combed
This
my
is
hair.
mine.
Paul, are you signing on the salary piece now or the book?
I gave you both signed salary copies,
We
Yep.
each have a signed copy.
so
of
I'm
the
working
salary.
on one book.
Okay,
And
And
then we'll
you,
switch.
do you want those?
Yeah. I just-
Okay, oh, perfect, okay. They all should.
Here's the one of these.
President and, I don't know if for those who are watching live stream, if there's a timeline like out for ratification before the school
Yes.
board.
So, yeah, so I'll let you talk about ratification and then I'll talk about school board and approval.
yes.
Well, first of all, it has to go to the executive board. The executive board has to be apprised of the agreement first. That's Thursday. We will be calling an emergency FR council for Friday because it has to pass through them. The recommendation from the executive board moves to the FR council. FR council recommends it out and then ratification will begin the following week.
And so then it will be prepared to go to the school board on April 12th. And pending approval and everything and ratification, retro checks and raises will be in the April 22nd paychecks.
Pending everything is approved and goes through.
Correct.
A lot of moving parts.
Yes.
Yes.
And then the week after that, we start on next year.
Yep.
No.
No, we got 3 weeks.
No. We will.
What?
It broke?
Yeah, so I was just asking. Is that not going to?
You broke the door?
He broke the door.
Why'd you broke? See, this is why we can't have good stuff.
Listen, pal,
We can't have nice things.
I'm about to put my years in Madeira Beach condo maintenance to work. I just gotta find this room.
See? What a handy
The
guy.
president and head gopher, head doofer. I don't even know.
I have no idea. I was gonna do that.
Yeah.
I'll give you
I don't recall anybody saying it was broken.
Why we gotta sign every page? What's up with that? Ooh.
Yeah.
Just sit there?
So I have to sign NVO. how many times I screwed up signing checks because I signed Nancy Velarde O'Toole, but my checks at home, I signed Nancy Velarde O'Toole. And then I have to go back to Cheryl and say, "Oops."
Signing that.
Okay.
You may want this. I didn't make copies for everybody, but that's why we kicked in.
Thank you.
That's-
That's great to have, actually, because I wasn't writing fast enough. to
Yeah,
take that
because
type
that's
of-
what I was thinking. I knew last year we couldn't do it. So yeah, that's
We didn't even do a salary schedule last year. We did the MOU, remember, with
last year because it was,
it was required under the teacher salary, yeah.
mhm. Uh-huh. I'm always having to go to Cheryl and say, "I'm sorry." You have to run another check. And she's like, "No, we'll wait until they complain."
Was it hyphen O'Toole?
Yep.
Yes, we are.
That's the signing. Not everybody could tune in to watch us write.
And they are. Actually, Jamie just texted me. I saw the pictures and she just texted me and said she's watching on YouTube.
She's watching us.
Hi, Jamie.
Thankfully, nobody has to watch me write my entire last name.
Board. I'm definitely special.
You are such a, you are so beautiful to me.
I can't.
That just went viral. You're gonna have the claw after this.
Whoever finishes first, I get
And goodbye. Almost.
Mom, I'm bored.
Need a stamp.
Right?
Seriously.
Oh, good.
It should be on, it should be Facebook official.
Yep, you gotta love it.
Yeah, that makes me nervous.
Okay, one done. Done.
Did you already post it? Okay.
This is just Lindsay.
And then Nancy signs and then,
She's signing, did you sign two of these? Because one is the one that Paul already signed.
Yeah, this Paul is
Yeah.
here.
so Nancy needs to sign.
Nancy's got to sign that.
This is sucky.
Mhm.
And I like it.
How many more? I'll get Paul signing.
Try.
She really wants that pizza.
Don't we all?
Oh, okay.
I would love to, I would love to go. see that,
In boot camp, we had
but,
laundry marker all over the world.
mhm.
We have that kind of- We just got stolen with the laundry marker.
Oh, Lord, from the fumes in the marker?
Get out of the way.
My poor children.
It's like painting a house in the wintertime. There are things that you just don't do. And all those windows closed in that room.
For the very. Now I agree with Lori. This is too long.
This is too long.
This contract is too long.
Yeah, that's I think that's what Lori said at the beginning.
I'm gonna tell her, you finally won me over.
I didn't vote on one, I didn't have the vote. Oh, thanks, Kevin.
Jesus Christ.
Do we? I don't know. 'Cause I've never been here, so I don't.
What?
Just one of the things.
No.
I just want to get a picture of that language on the last page, so we write that out.
Oh,
The
what?
one we added about.
Oh, I got it. Right there. That-
I think what we're gonna do is,
Thank you.
we're trying to move, just so y'all know, we're trying to move the rep, like Nancy was mentioning, the rep council up, so that we can open ratification on Monday. That's what we're shooting for.
Lindsay, I think, and I'm sorry to say this, and I don't know if we're still live streaming, we are, Friday, I'd love to think that we could pull the quota of reps that we need to.
Yes, I would love to think that too.
If that part's hard, I know we're under a big tight timeline, that part is significantly hard, worst case scenario, it's Monday, and I'm not down to my own team, I know what the timeline is, and we gotta move this.
So our original intention was to do that and to go to ratification Tuesday through Thursday, close it on Thursday. The issue that I foresee with that, and I think it's been informed by the events of this week, where we got this district outage where no one has been able to receive emails for a couple of days. All of this is via email, like the voting information goes out via email. And if there was for some reason, some delay, and we can never totally prevent it, but if there was some sort of delay, our waiver with PERC to do the electronic ratification ends Thursday, the 31st. And so if we somehow were not able, that's the way they did it across the state. So if we were somehow not able to ratify by that date, we could still ratify, but we would have to shift to paper-based. And yeah, so that's the concern. It was that we could still do it if we had, we can talk about it, the rep council on Monday, but it leaves us an extremely narrow window and no room for any kind of error. And again, our thought on it up until this point was thinking we can do that. But obviously circumstances beyond everybody's control can be an issue. Are y'all back online? Is the district back online, or are we still?
Well, the ASOP system is back online, so I think things are coming back online.
Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Was anything at the state
No.
impacted, like Pier?
I heard Pier was down.
Pier was down, yeah, Pier was down, because that was the possibility. Okay. Okay, well, I mean, Lindsay,
Executive board to like 4 o'clock on Thursday and just have a short expectancy. I'm sorry, it's just about this.
But it's a long.
Our executive board is, but we got a long agenda.
Could we come back to it somehow? You know what I mean? Like settle this, maybe go out of whatever you call executive session or whatever. Do the.
and phone board meeting, I'm with Ginger, motion that
What do you think?
Let's talk, well, and
I don't think you need to make a motion.
Well, we gotta
You're so used to it.
no, but it's worth having the discussion about it. Yeah.
To do it Thursday.
To try, because you're right, that we want to make sure that we're setting it up to get to meet.
what it would be for the executive board clarifications, I believe we would have to make a motion, or have a short agenda to split our.
The agenda's already set, and there's nothing we can pull from it. We got the second reading of the budget.
Problem is the
Can't
second
delay
round of
that.
budget.
Cancel that.
No, I would say take a little break, go on to the Zoom,
It would mean,
and come back out of that and finish. the
it would mean you got to be in, the executive board would run incredibly late that night.
We couldn't split,
No, we might break a record.
Madam President, could we split the executive board, part of it on Thursday, part of it on Monday? This part of it for Thursday, followed by FR Thursday evening after it, and the rest of our agenda items for exec board on Monday.
I don't know.
Or Friday.
Well,
Well, let's talk about, let's get this closed out and then we can talk about the mechanics of it. Yeah. Because like you said, there's a lot of moving parts.
And Lindsay, maybe we can touch base this week too about just the electronic and what that pertains for.
Yeah.
So it's not the weekend.
Yeah.
Kind of whatever.
Yeah, we're gonna start doing it notifications. We have to start doing notifications now. In order to get the notifications
Now.
that ratification is coming. That we don't have to wait.
Town crier style. I like it. Yeah.
I got the sunroof, I can stick out the top.
That's very vintage. It's so retro.
All done. Well, I have to sign another one, right?
Yeah.
But you're on that one.
Almost done. Gonna write the added language.
It's good. I think we got a lot of important language. That we've been, it was very responsive to the bargaining survey that we sent out last year. And a lot of this is exactly what our members were asking for. We obviously didn't get everything, but that's not how negotiation works.
Are you happy overall?
I would have preferred more attention given to the veteran teachers. But because I have to check out the legislation to see exactly what the restrictions are. And we'll be back to asking for longevity for next year.
Well, they had language on that, didn't they, on longevity.
They did. And I believe the only restriction they made is that you can't just do it for grandfather scale. I believe that's what it said, in which case we can't ask for it. We can ask for it again, and it is not a problem with the law, as long as we agree that it's for everybody. I think that's-
Everybody gets a handler.
That's my understanding of the language. I just want to double check. I wish that had happened soon enough to get it this year, but.
Still not even signed.
You don't even know the buses
Yeah, and
are
we
being
just couldn't
thrown
do
under
it.
every year.
Always.
First and
You
best.
said it'll let the record, the latest you've ever said.
This is the latest
First
we've ever
$1 million
signed
school
in
in the
open
country.
book.
From what I hear.
We had some
Wow.
detours having to
Beautiful
negotiate
place.
4 different COVID MOUs through the course of the year. The protocols for the first semester, the protocols for the second semester, and the COVID leave for both semesters.
You need to sign that one.
Thanks. So we were, had to take breaks from this in order to do that, negotiate that.
Yeah.
And that kind of slowed us down quite a bit. I hate this.
You get a stamper.
Oh, this is ridiculous. I have to go look at the old ones. I didn't see them signed on every page.
Just do this, like, put your.
Of all the
signature on your
cases to
thumbs,
go
go
after.
like that.
Love you.
I know. Well, yeah, but what's her name? Chelsea, Marcia Blackburn. Went after contraceptive.
Well, I guess it didn't happen in 30 minutes.
She was like, the Supreme Court shouldn't have made that.
No,
decision.
and I
That should
knew
be-
because of the code issue, I knew that was going to be a major discussion because they don't have all the right things. They're not including everyone. And that's gonna be something we have to deal with, not them.
But it's like,
People were saying, hey, wait a minute, I do this every day, why aren't I getting that extra planning? And,
Maybe they'll be nice and work. it out with
Everything
some-
and
and that's what I'm trying to,
Recode the teachers who are not coded.
fine
properly.
line between
yes,
not enough
that's what I would
information
say, is try to
information.
fix
Things like
those
that would be
codes.
fair.
Mhm.
can be
It sounds like
very,
that's what you
very
were saying.
exhausting.
It did. It
That's
did.
cool.
Shut up. Come on, we were a little bit more fun than the school board meeting, no?
Well, yeah.
I mean, that's, I mean, granted,
But you
David
don't-
Happy's
you
not
don't
here.
bring- You don't bring in all interesting characters. from outside. You just get an
We didn't get
interesting character
sweet.
From the inside. So.
I didn't, I should have realized her name is Dulce, but how come she only calls herself Dulce once in a while? And the
Maybe
other
because-
time she says sweet. I mean,
Maybe trying to cater to the crowd that speaks English and the crowd that speaks Spanish.
no, I thought that was weird. When
I didn't
they,
even know she had a last name.
I know, because it's always been just sweet before. I thought she was like Cher.
Was that during public comment or in?
Yeah, only with no talent.
I don't know if she has talent.
You don't know if Cher has talent?
I saw Sharon in concert once. I'm not sure if she has talent.
She doesn't actually.
Hey, listen, it's a very controversial stance to take while we're still live. You may want to back, you may want to back out on the share. criticism.
That's
I
right.
wrote a review
There are
for the
people-
newspaper, I said essentially
You just said
the
it.
same thing, so I don't feel too bad about
No,
that.
she's doing all right.
She's a good performer. There's a difference
Let's
between.
just say Cindy Lauper opened for her and Cindy Lauper was way better.
Oh,
Cindy
Lauper's
Lauper?
amazing.
I would love to see Cindy
She
Lauper.
was awesome. And then Cher came on, she couldn't even remember what city she was in.
Well, like, was she 70 already?
No, it was like 10 years ago.
nobody was.
Oh, it was like a country thing, wasn't it?
Kinky Boots?
Yes,
Oh, I thought-
Cher did the music for Kinky
Theater
Boots.
Yeah, yeah, she did all the music.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
thought that's- I
Cool.
couldn't keep reading rookies.
Just so
No,
I can keep.
Cindy Lauper. You've never seen that, you should see it if you're Cindy Lauper.
I
Sometime I'll have to tell you a story, Lee, about,
check that out.
about,
I know I've-
Alison
I've
Krauss.
seen it.
It's
Alison
in
Krauss is
Woodpecker
cool.
Hall, I think.
Sorry? She's a voice of an angel.
Sarah Hall- Sarah Hall reminds
Not
me of-
not the soundtrack you want to have when you're pretty much 9 months pregnant, taking a prenatal yoga class
I don't
and
think I'm ever
downward
gonna
dog.
have that
So don't do it. It just.
Put it over the
down.
edge. It wasn't pretty. In case you find yourself in that situation, do
never
not,
know,
do
Jeff. You
not let
never
them
know.
play Alison Krauss singing the Baby Mine from Dumbo.
Dumbo, right?
Don't do it. Don't do it.
It's so pretty. She does such a-
It is not pretty when you, as a pregnant woman, cannot
Cannot stop
physically get
crying
off your
hysterically.
knees. You can't physically stand up to stop the tears and various other stuff from flowing down your face.
She does a good job of singing.
Oh, it's beautiful. In that moment, my brother had gifted me that class, and I really thought that I was being pumped.
Oh, there you go.
It is a beautiful song.
I think I skipped one.
She was still had the new smell.
Oh, yeah, so beautiful.
Yes. still had the new
Beautiful.
smell. And then a friend of mine did the music for.
Again, we're live. It's just- No, you're, it's on that.